Another report has come out surrounding the Toronto Blue Jays and their pursuit of another starting pitcher, and this would be perfect for the team, to put it quite simply. So we'll break that down and much more on this episode of Jays Digest. Welcome in, everybody, to Jays Digest. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And before we get into the video, I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to each and every one of you, since wasn't able to be there yesterday. I know Nick sent it all out to you guys, but again, happy holidays. Enjoy the time with your loved ones. But now it's time to get back to business for the Toronto Blue Jays. It's time to get back to business for us as well. So if you're loving the daily content, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because a large percentage of you who are still watching these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So go ahead and do that, because Nick, we're close to 15,000. And at this rate, I think we're going to get it before the new year. But time is ticking, so it's up to you guys now whether or not we can hit that goal. But the Blue Jays are in need of a lot of different things this offseason. So I don't know what the Christmas list was like for Ross Atkins and for Mark Shapiro, but I'm sure that they had a starter on there. I'm sure that they had some power hitting options as well, and they've yet to get any of those. So what's the course of action going to be now? Sean Manaea got a pretty big contract from the New York Mets. That was a name that we've been talking about quite a little bit. We've been talking about Corbin Burns, of course, as well, but that seems to be sort of on the back burner right now. We haven't heard anything on that front. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's not as good of a thing as we think it is. But Nick, the options are there for the Blue Jays. Now it's just up to them what direction they want to go in.
Yeah, the holidays are over, so hopefully we start to see some more transactions like we usually do after the holidays. And let's go with this one. It's from John Heyman, obviously notable reporter. Scott Boras, knows a lot about the Scott Boras clients. He says the Jays are among many teams in on Nick Pivetta, who is a Canadian native, and that kind of is it's a pretty big report actually. And we obviously are talking about how they're interested in Corbin Burns. They were interested in a lot of the starting pitchers that are off the board now, Sean Manaea, all these different guys. And Nick Pivetta still remains on the list. We're seeing some things. They're pursuing Nick Pivetta. And again, he's had some very good seasons with the Red Sox. We're going to dive into a bunch of the different reports and the things like that. But I just want to get your thoughts on this, Peter. It seems like the Jays are pursuing Nick Pivetta here, and it makes some sense. He's coming off of an okay season. He had a bit of above a 4 ERA, which we'll dive into. And again, he was traded midway through 2020, swingman in 2023, coming in as a reliever, but now he is, of course, a starter. Started 91 of his last 93 outings in Boston, 140 innings pitched each year, coming off a season with a 4.14 ERA with the Red Sox, which isn't great, but I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I know you're on the side of you don't really need an ace in this Blue Jay staff right now. So if you're looking for someone who's a bit more affordable, he is a Canadian and someone who can kind of help give some length to this starting rotation, then I mean, Nick Pivetta would be that guy, over 140 innings in 4 straight years.
Yeah, and he's durable. You hit the nail on the head there. I don't think they need an ace. Now, is the rotation top of the line like it was a couple of years ago? No, because you have some aging starters in there, and Kevin Gausman and Chris Bassett, but you still have José Berríos, and those three guys eat innings like no one else can in the major leagues. Chris Bassett is always around that 200 inning mark. Kevin Gausman as well doesn't miss many starts, and José Berríos. I know a lot of people made a big deal out of the contract, and we did too, especially the way that he performed a couple of seasons ago. But he's really steered the ship in the right direction. And you talk about durability. I don't think there's anyone more durable than José Berríos in Major League Baseball. The guy does not miss starts. He doesn't get injured. He has such a fluid delivery. Now, I hope I'm not jinxing him. I hope I don't put a curse on him going into the season here. And if I do, then I'm sure you guys are going to let me have it in the comments section. But he's durable. He's someone that you could rely on for close to 200 innings as well. And maybe his stuff isn't what it used to be earlier in the Minnesota days, but he's still as reliable as they come. So, do you need an ace? No, but I think the Blue Jays have a bunch of number two and three starters in their rotation right now, which is a recipe for success. You want to have a chance to win every fifth day, and I think you can rely on those guys to stay healthy and in the lineup. And Bowden Francis as well. Can't be understated how he finished last season. So Corbin Burns would be great, but I think a power bat is the number one priority. It should be the only priority at this point for the Blue Jays. I don't care if you go into the season with four starters. You're not winning with this offense that you have at this current moment. So Corbin Burns is great, but Nick Pivetta, as solid as they come in terms of a fifth starter, and I think that would be great for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, and obviously in the playoffs, it's nice to have an ace, whether that's the Yankees, Garrett Cole, Corbin Burns, the Orioles last year. But again, you need to get to the playoffs first, and Nick Pivetta definitely helps with that. And you look at his stats again, even in previous years, like 2023 with Boston, he's obviously in AL East. He's been in the AL East now for 4 or so years here. So 5 full seasons or 4 full seasons and a little bit of a season in 2020. I mean, we're familiar as Jays fans with Nick Pivetta. He's been very good, and he's done fairly good against the Jays a lot of the time as well. I mean, he started in 2022, 33 games, 2021, 31 games. So he'd fit into the Ross Atkins pitching structure where it's Chris Bassett who eats innings, José Berríos eats innings, Kevin Gausman usually, of course, eats innings as well. And then depending how Bowden Francis tends to do here. And again, he had a 1.8 WAR last year. Is it a groundbreaking signing? I don't know. I don't think it's exactly a huge thing. But they are in on Corbin Burns. I'll dive into that in a minute here. But I think if they are trying to save some money, then Nick Pivetta would be the guy if they want to go out and get. I mean, again, we don't know their budget for sure. We're thinking it's around however 20, 25 million left, whatever they kind of have their internal evaluation there. They need to go out and get Santander or most likely Teoscar Hernandez, which seems to be falling into place, all the dominoes for him. And if they can't do that, if they know their budget's not going to allow them to get Burns and one of these guys, then maybe they pivot to Pivetta and then go out and get a Teoscar Hernandez and one other player, whether that's, I mean, there's a lot of different players who have been taken off the board, but there are also still some left as well.
It's not a groundbreaking move, and you're right about that. But what it is, it's insurance, and you can never have too many pitchers. Right now, the Jays have four starters that I think they could rely on, and there's a pretty big asterisk surrounding Bowden Francis as well. He finished off the season great, but he's been in a lot of low leverage situations ever since coming into the major leagues. And last year, he came up when the Blue Jays were all but done in the playoff race. So I'm not taking anything away from the impressive run that he had. He was arguably the best pitcher in Major League Baseball for that 1 month stretch that he was taking the mound every fifth day. But can you replicate that over a full season? My inclination would probably be no. I don't think Bowden Francis could maintain a sub 2 ERA over the course of a 162 game regular season. If he can, then I mean, there's the answer to our question. The Blue Jays have their ace, but I don't think he's that kind of guy. But when we're talking about Nick Pivetta, mid 90s fastball, pretty decent curveball on him. I mean, all the intangibles are there. He's Canadian, so you've struggled to attract free agent talent. Maybe you can get a Canadian guy who actually wants to play for your team. That could be a benefit to the Blue Jays in all this in all these sweepstakes. But the John Heyman tweet there, the Jays are amongst many teams in on Nick Pivetta. So it all depends who gives him the most money. We've seen the market is crazy this year, even for someone like Sean Manaea, who we didn't think would get $25 million annual revenue, but he did. He's he's getting $25 million over 3 years with the New York Mets, and maybe that's just Steve Cohen outbidding everybody just to make sure that he can get back his left-handed starter. But if that's the way the market is going, you're probably looking at 4 years, 80-ish million for Nick Pivetta, who's a little bit younger than Sean Manaea. So it's going to be interesting to follow, but I think he would be a perfect guy in the back end of that rotation.
Yeah, 31 years old, has some upside as well there. So let us know your thoughts are, 'cause we know they're in on Corbin Burns. We know they're pursuing, Ryan Helsley, all these different things. They need to actually go out and get one of these guys. And Teoscar Hernandez might as well be one of the top targets for them. And we know that's true, but they need to actually get Teoscar Hernandez. I'm kind of with you now on the Teoscar Hernandez train, but that's a video for another day. Let us know down below what your thoughts are on Nick Pivetta. And also let us know who you think Ross Atkins is ultimately going to get in the starting pitching department. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.